guy in the NBA should ever wear 23.
I've been working on that shot my whole life, and for that one to go in, that was liberating right there, man.
And I'm not shoving it aside, like it don't mean anything. I know it's important. I honestly do. But we talking about
23 Shots of JD podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to the 23 Shots of JD podcast. Sorry for the, I guess, I don't know if you say late, I guess I sort of technically missed one. Missed a podcast a couple days ago. I guess there's probably like a lot of reasons for that. One, initially I wanted to sort of hold off on the podcast last week to try and do it more towards after the trade deadline, just to try and discuss more, the different intricacies that sort of relate to the whole trade situation that sort of transpired recently. But then, things happen, health things happen. I got pretty sick, pretty ill, and sort of wasn't able to really record as much as I really wanted, which is, probably not the best excuse, I guess, but, it's pretty disappointing. I couldn't really talk that much. Just overall illness, and you don't want to hear some nasally ill-ridden dude just try and speak over, talk about the NBA and stuff like that. So, that wasn't suited. And then when I actually went to record the podcast, when I basically got to, nearly 100% in health, there was a blackout. There was a whole suburb-wide blackout. And I realized when the blackout happens, we're actually just all over. It's just all over. And I don't know if anyone's experienced a blackout recently, but when we had the blackout, it was basically just complete pandemonium, just anarchy in the household, because just no one knew what to do. There was no internet, no TV. The refrigerator was not working, obviously, so nothing was cold really. All the food was off. No air conditioning, and here in Australia, it's been pretty up and down. But on that day, it was pretty humid, so it's actually complete anarchy. And then for some reason as well, like, the tower services are down, so even though your Wi-Fi works, your 4G might have, 4 bars or whatever, but you still can't call anyone, and you still can't text message anyone. You can't access your mobile networks and stuff like that. So it's just, you're basically just tied off in the world, no lights, and it's just complete darkness. And it's complete pandemonium, like I said. It's just, no one knows what to do with themselves. Just, you just play apps on your phone, you play games on your phone or whatever, and just no one knows really what to do. So that was a bit interesting, but yeah, that was actually the blackout. So it was a lot longer than what people sort of initially anticipated, which is probably not ideal, but sort of what happens and stuff like that. So again, apologies for people who've been asking, when's the next episode coming and stuff like that. It's sort of just like I said, it's just situational things happening. Sorry, I got awkwardly close to the mic there. Sorry about that. But I thought what a better time to release a podcast when I'm just watching the All-Star game. I'm just casually watching the All-Star game, and I thought, whilst I'm watching the All-Star game, I might as well record a podcast, chuck that on, and let you guys listen to it. I'm not going to be doing like a play-by-play of the podcast of the All-Star game and like recounting what happened and stuff. So let's be honest, it's a glorified pickup game. It's just 90% dunks. Well, it's probably like 70% dunks, 25% threes, and then 5% defense. So, which is, let's be honest, that's ironically the NBA right now, isn't it? So, that's sort of what it is. But like I said, I did want to actually talk about trades and stuff, when I was initially going to record the podcast. But, the trade is still relevant as ever, and especially with all the movement in the East. Some big moves in the East, just a lot of trades have happened, and now there's more than ever this uncertainty on who is going to make it out of the East. So, actually, before we get there, obviously there was a lot of trades happening and stuff like that. But let's be honest, the biggest thing during the trade window is the no trade of Anthony Davis. I think it became very apparent that there was not going to be a trade of Anthony Davis as as the deadline started to approach. For a variety of reasons. I think one, obviously, I think they wanted the competitiveness of the trade offers to expand, and that would be allowed to happen in the offseason. Obviously, the Lakers are really the only ones with a potential trade offer, but who knows with what the draft order or the draft lottery is going to spit out. Free agents going to certain teams and things like that. So who knows what's going to happen in the offseason? It's going to be one of the juiciest off seasons and one of the more consequential off seasons of all time, realistically. About to happen. But as I mentioned, Anthony Davis didn't get traded. Now he's chilling on the Pelicans. And there's all this conjecture about if he's going to play, if they're going to sit him or not. And then the NBA actually came out and said basically sort of aligned with the tampering rules. Oh, not tampering rules, sorry, the tanking rules. That basically if they sit him when he's not injured, they're going to fine the Pelicans $100,000, which... is it's sort of brought up a lot of debate because basically it's sort of like, what condones someone being injured or not? Like how do we know it's a real injury or two it's a fake injury? But also, why should the NBA like dictate what players have that type of $100K fine attributed to? As we know, there's been a lot of players that have not been able to play and just been forcibly sat out. People like J.R. Smith, Carmelo Anthony, Chandler Parsons, just to name a few. So why are they or the teams that they are part of not being cautioned or being fined for not playing their plays even though they're healthy? Yet the Pelicans are forced to play Anthony Davis because they are at a financial disadvantage. It sort of just puts out there this sort of making of the rules. Really, they're just making rules on the spot. And I know even myself have given a lot of praise to Adam Silver for what he's been able to do with the NBA. His sort of ingenuity and his innovation, coupled with just his sort of awareness to what the fans want. He's sort of, I guess, known as the people's GM or the people's commissioner, I should say. But in regards to some of the rules that have, arisen as of late, especially during his tenure as a commissioner, they've sort of been off the cuff and just, sort of how I feel here, how I feel there. There's no sort of criteria or no sort of baseline or standard. And it's very evident with this whole Anthony Davis fining situation, So who knows how's it going to progress? Because obviously... now, as I'm watching the All-Star game, Anthony Davis is at the All-Star game. I'm not sure if he's going to actually play because he has a shoulder contusion or whatever that is, which is a hyperbolic shoulder bruise or whatever you want to call it. So, I don't know what's going to happen with him. And, it's just sort of a sour situation for everyone. The Pelicans, Anthony Davis, and really the NBA as well. So, again, who knows if that's how that's going to transpire. And obviously on the flip side of that, the one, it takes two teams to tango, and the Pelicans didn't want to tango, but definitely the Lakers wanted to go and dance, grind up on that Pelicans butt, if you know what I mean, get nice and frisky at the club as you do. So, the Lakers weren't able to do that. They put out the Godfather offer, basically, getting rid of the whole young core, basically a starting five, like a tangible starting five. And then on top of that, 2 first-round picks, which, even though they wouldn't be that good, because let's be honest, LeBron James and Anthony Davis should be a playoffs team, so that's what, let's say your picks mid to late 20s. And, you can still get great players there, but obviously your odds are getting a surefire superstar sort of lesson there. But, the Lakers are in a difficult situation now because, like I think I mentioned the last podcast, especially with the media putting so much attention on them, no one wants to mess with them. No one wants to mess with them. Why would you want to mess with the Lakers? Why would you want to mess with the Lakers? One, everyone thinks every free agent is going to go there. 2, they are the glamour market. 3, they have, a glamour GM perhaps. Maybe not, obviously Rob Pelinka's not the GM, but head of basketball operations of in Magic Johnson, obviously a very notable figure, not only in the NBA community but just in pop culture in general. So it's going to be difficult for the Lakers to really do much because no team. I think they've sort of been blackballed, and it's very evident when Greg Popovich reportedly went out of his way to talk to Dell Demps to tell him not to trade Anthony Davis to the Lakers. And at some point, isn't that tampering? Isn't that collusion? Isn't that collusion? Going or like who a team or GM that has Pop's not the GM. He's like the head of basketball operation, but an individual that has no say or is not really a party within the trade talks, going out and vocally saying don't do it. So I think it's pretty ridiculous that that's happened, but it's just what it is sometimes. So it's gonna be a tough run for the Lakers, and as I see now, Davis has checked into the game, so he looks like he's gonna play. So if he's healthy, he's got to play. And I know he walked out halftime in the game with Rich Paul and all that stuff. Try to, all that. It's just a weird situation for not only the Pelicans, not only for the Lakers, but Anthony Davis as well. And even with the whole media day now, him coming out and saying that all 29 teams on the list, that's going to put even more confusion to what he wants, what he wants to do, because he said he wants to go to a winning team, but if he just proposes that every team's on offer, the Orlando Magic could probably put through a decent package, maybe. Who knows what they could do. So, jeez, I sort of went on a tangent way too much on this Anthony Davis situation, but talk about a no trade and just see what's going to happen there. But as I alluded to earlier, there has been a lot of big trades in the Eastern Conference. And not just any teams in the Eastern Conference. I guess you could say the Big Four in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, Indiana's still in the Big Four, but they're probably going to drop off. Even though they have been playing very well. Shout out to Miles Turner, who I think is a smoky for the D-Boys. So I sort of ranked all these trades in my opinion. There's really only 3 big trades I'm going to talk about. It's pretty obvious they have been talked about a myriad of times already. That one of the big trades is the Tobias Harris trade. So the 76ers trade for Tobias Harris. I'm not 100% sure what the package was because, like I said on this podcast, we really have no information on those stats. It's really just some young dude rambling. But there was that elusive Miami first round pick. Along with that, it was Landry Shamet, Muscala, someone else, a couple other people, but let's be honest, no one that's really of note. The big person is Tobias Harris going to the 76ers. Some people think the Clippers won the trade. I'll let those people sort of talk about their reason. I'm not debating it. It's just I don't really want to talk about the Clippers. I'd rather talk about the 76ers because now they've sort of created a... you could say a Big Four. I would even say Big Five because JJ Redick's a beast as well. He's averaging a decent amount of points and he's their main 3-point deadeye shooter. So, as I say, Clay missing a 3-point shot. But, this is also a game. Giannis' team just killing it. But, as I mentioned, Tobias Harris goes to the 76ers, creating a starting 5 of Ben Simmons, JJ Redick, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. And a lot of questions have been asked to decide if they're going to be able to gel together. I think the addition of Tobias Harris is one that's going to be positive because he's someone that doesn't need a lot of shots. I think he has the least amount of shots as a 20-point per game scorer, which is a very positive thing. Are they either going to be a 20-point per game scorer on the 76ers? Perhaps not. But I think knowing that he has the capability to and that in any playoff situation that he can really pull that off and just drop you a quick 25 piece or whatever, Jeez, Westbrook sizing him up. Jesus, Westbrook's getting moshed. Sorry, a bit parched, lads. But yeah, Tobias Harris, I think, is going to be a good addition, and you have to think that getting a borderline all-star on your team again, whilst they have sacrificed a little bit of depth, but let's be honest, in the playoffs, you're not really going 10 deep, you're going 7 deep, 8 deep, whatever like that. So, Tobias Harris is going to be good. Can shoot the three very effectively. Like I said, he's an all-round scorer. He's putting career highs in rebounds, and he's still very young as well. So I think, especially this year, look for the 76ers to be a legitimate threat. I think questions are going to be proposed extensively in the offseason because you had Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler as free agents, and Elton Brand has come out and expressed his desire to sign both of them and try and keep this quad of players together for as long as they can. But, if Jimmy Butler finds Brooklyn or New York or even one of the LA teams as a lucrative team. Oh, Dirk with the three! Nice. Yeah, if he finds any of those teams more lucrative than the 76ers, he might leave, and then Tobias Harris, he might leave as well. And, Tobias Harris already knocked back a $44 for $80 million contract. So I think maybe he thinks he's worth a bit more than that. And if the 76ers are willing to push that far, perhaps he'll stay. But, who knows what's going to happen. Oh, Dirk again! This guy's filthy. Jesus. But yeah, the Tobias Harris situation's just all messed up. In regards to what's going to happen in the offseason. So, who knows? I think they're going to be a threat, but in all honesty, I don't think that fixes their problem with 3-point shooting entirely. I think they still are lacking depth in the 3-point department on their bench, and then just on top of that as well, coupled with that, Ben Simmons still can't shoot, and I think Ben Simmons is he needs to be a very pivotal threat from the perimeter. So, who knows what's going to happen from there. But like I said, I don't think they're going to be to make it sure, I don't think they're going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, in my opinion. Another team that made a big trade was the Toronto Raptors, trading for Marc Gasol, essentially trading their own big man in Jonas Valanciunas, who actually had a very, very good debut for Memphis, and maybe he could be a pivotal player for them. Because I think maybe just the system in Toronto wasn't really conducive to making Jonas Valanciunas as effective as he was. But, maybe in the system, him playing alongside Jaren Jackson could work out, So I don't think it's all over for Jonas Valanciunas. Just keep playing, bud. You'll get there, buddy. But, yeah, Marc Gasol gets traded to the Toronto Raptors. And at least in the short term, and probably for the way the Toronto Raptors play and like their system, Marc Gasol's an upgrade, and I think whilst yes he makes the team better in the regular season, I think why they brought him on is one, his experience in the playoffs, and two, that he can really win you a playoff game. I think especially with how the Memphis Grizzlies have sort of fallen into the abyss, and no one really talks about them anymore. People forget that Memphis was a perennial playoff team. At one point, even challenging for Western Conference Finals and stuff like that. Like they were a stud team at one point. The grit and grind era, as they like to call it, and him, Mike Conley, Zach Randolph, Tony Allen. Not the biggest names, obviously, but effective nonetheless. And as I mentioned, Marc Gasol can win you a playoff game, not just because he's a gun 3-point shooter or anything like that, but in a myriad of ways. One, he can distribute the ball very effectively. I think I said it on the podcast ages ago that he was really one of the original Jokic's. Like, he was the original Jokic. He was the big man that could distribute effectively, shoot the perimeter, get shot, and he was sort of one of the original Jokic's, which should not be understated, as James Harden just hits the three. But Westbrook, Jesus, Westbrook's just been breaking it hard. But yeah, Marcus Gasol can win you a game in myriad of ways on the offensive end, as I said, can shoot the ball very well. D'Lo, jeez, just all threes. On can distribute the ball effectively, to shoot the three, decent enough where teams will have to come out at him. And let's be honest, when it's a center shooting threes, no one sprawls out and tries to run a center off the 3-point line. So usually they have a dead eye look at the rim, and Marc Gasol, I think, is a competent enough shooter to be able to just do the business. And then on the opposite end as well, on the defensive end, people forget defensive player of the year on one point. Depoy, my man was a Depoy, and let's be honest, he's only really in there just to sort of defend Joel Embiid. Let's be honest, he's only really there to defend Joel Embiid. That's really what the trade was. I think they've anticipated that that potentially the 76ers might be the best team in the East. Well, not the best team in the East, but I guess they're dancing partner in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I think they've tried to make sure that they can nullify the 76ers' best player, which is Joel Embiid, obviously. So adding a deep-point player, adding someone that can really do a lot of things on the court, offensively as well, is going to be conducive to having a winning style of play for Toronto Raptors. And I think it gives them some security as well when Kawhi leaves, which is probably the most accurate statement, but more really when Kawhi is intending to what am I saying? If Kawhi leaves, I should be saying if Kawhi leaves, not when Kawhi leaves. If Kawhi leaves, let's be honest, it's when Kawhi leaves. But oh my God, Dirk's on fire. Dirk is on fire. Jesus. I'm sort of just like zoned out and watching this All-Star game. It's just like, it's so rad to see Dirk and even Wade hitting a corner three, nice. But yeah, as I mentioned, I think it gives them security when or if Kawhi Leonard leaves, because then they'll still have a competent duo, I guess, in Kyle Lowry and Marc Gasol. And whilst maybe they'll not be the premier of the East, they'll still be very competitive in the East. And then they could probably work around some moves. Pascal Siakam, dropping 44 recently. He's a stud now. He's killing it. So, they still have a lot of great pieces, even if Kawhi leaves. And I think adding Marc Gasol aids in them, making sure that they are competitive in the near and even later future. So that's a good thing for them. Yeah. Moving on. To me, the biggest trade in the East, and just the biggest trade in general, whilst it might not be, a big name, it's not an all-star, it's not a name that's probably a lot of people would think, wow, he's a real game changer. But let's be honest, he is going to be I think he will be a game breaker in the East, and he will win you not only one but multiple playoff games, depending how long obviously your team survives in the playoffs. And this team is the Bucks, and this player is Nikola Mirotic. And Nikola Mirotic is a stud. He's a stud. Start of the year. Mirotic MVP, perhaps? Mirotic is a stud. He is a stud. And I think coming into a team that's built for him in a way that, he could just spread the floor effectively, and no one needs to drive. He can really be sort of the secondary scorer on the team. Probably third, because I guess maybe Chris Middleton might be the secondary scorer. I think Chris Middleton will probably end up being the third primary scorer on the team, below Mirotic, because I think that's how good Mirotic is. Like people forgot in the playoffs, he was the pivotal part of why the Pelicans advanced past the Portland Trailblazers. He's the pivotal reason why the Pelicans season this year has not gone to plan because of his injuries early on. Like Nikola Mirotic is a beast. He's very, very good. He can shoot the three. He can put on the floor. He can rebound hard. He's good. He's got good physical traits for his position. So I think it works out very, very well for the Milwaukee Bucks. And Milwaukee, in my opinion at least, throughout the start of the season and everything preceding to the Nikola Mirotic trade, people saw him, at least to me, it was probably the fourth best team in the East. I think, Celtics, maybe most people have that as the number one. I still think, they're my number one team. And then, you have probably the Raptors and then the 76ers and the Bucks. But I think the Bucks have really skyrocketed. And in my opinion, they are the second best team in the East. As I mentioned, I think the Celtics are still the best team in the East, just with the amount of talent they have, the depth. Really everything is working in their favor. I think it's just trying to develop the chemistry and all that. But the Bucks, I think, are right behind them. Really, really right behind them. So, we'll see how that transpires. But as I mentioned, I think Nikola Mirotic's trade is a big one. He's a big contributor, not only in the regular season, but in the playoffs. And much like sort of the Marc Gasol trade, he can win you a playoff game. But Nikola Mirotic can win you multiple playoff games. And I think putting a death lineup where you have essentially Giannis playing center, he's playing your point center, that's wild. That is a wild, wild, wild team. So, I think that's probably it for all the trades. As I mentioned, I only sort of wanted to mention the big ones, especially in the East, because they are the ones that are most important. But, I guess sort of moving on to what I'm watching now, the All-Star game, or just the All-Star weekend in general, which I love. A lot of people hate it. I think people have negative connotations towards it, because one, they might think it's a waste of time because the players don't take it seriously. The events are not that entertaining or thrilling. But I think it's just fun. It's just fun, and I think it puts the NBA players in a different light and allows them to be more free and open-minded with how they play and stuff. So, I like it. I like it. But I think we should start from the beginning of the All-Star weekend, I guess, or the All-Star era. I don't know how to really describe it, but basically I'm saying is the All-Star draft. And the two captains obviously were LeBron James and Giannis Antetokounmpo. LeBron James being the number one vote getter. And whilst the draft, innocent as it might be perceived on the outside, players picking All-Stars, just trying to create a team that would be good. A lot of people read into it hard. Read into it very hard, and that was really the focal point of the draft. It wasn't, who's going to potentially win MVP or how the players will gel. Even maybe there was a little murmuring of how Embiid and Westbrook would gel on the team, but most of the talk was all on LeBron James' team and who he selected. And his first 6 picks that he selected were either free agents or people that want to play, that have asked for a trade. So, Giannis, come on, mate, you got to make those threes. But he selected a bunch of players that basically, sort of have an inclination to play or could play for the Lakers. And, everyone goes on and on about how, much of a genius LeBron James is. He's planting the seeds. He's like, everyone's going to be in the same locker room. Things are going to be discussed. It's a tampering nightmare for the NBA, which perhaps it probably is. But I think just take it on face value. He just picked players. He just picked the players. And obviously Giannis had an influence as well. He could have picked those players. So I think it was just a happy coincidence. Perhaps, maybe, yes, there might be some tampering and things of that nature, but that shouldn't take away from, just being a regular All-Star draft. Like, chill, everyone chill. Everyone just gotta chill on that. But, All-Star weekend, what can you say? Like I said, it is fun, but sometimes can be a bit dull at points. I mean, it's always kicked off by the celebrity game, which I actually liked watching the celebrity game. Celebrity game's good. There's a lot of people that, the word celebrity might be a stretch. Like, yes, Famous Los is famous on... Famous Los is famous. Famous Los is famous, on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. But celebrity... Come on. Let's be real. Come on. He's not a celebrity. And he did win the MVP, so... up to him, former Div 2 college player, so he's pretty decent. And he did play with B.A. So, he's a decent player or whatever, but celebrity, let's be real. Ray Allen, everyone's like, yeah, Ray Allen should. It's like, oh, someone should sign Ray Allen. Or memes came out like Lakers should sign Ray Allen to a 10-day contract. The man in the celebrity game went 11 of 22. He wasn't even that dominant. He only scored 24 points in a celebrity game. How is that condoned to, he should get a contract? Like, jeez, it's ridiculous. And obviously, after post that, the Rising Star game, which again was a glorified exhibition, it wasn't really competitive, or it was sort of, at one point it was pretty close, but the USA team just went on a sort of just took it back, went on a roll per the standards. Kyle Kuzma winning MVP. I think a lot of people would have suspected that. Everyone knows that there is a shot that he doesn't like, and he might be allergic to passing as well. So, that's sort of just how he is sometimes. But in all honesty, I think Trae Young should have got. I think it was just more exciting. Like, Kyle Kuzma just scored the most points. He had layups and things of that nature. So, I don't think he was really deserving of the All-Star of the MVP, because he really just, he wasn't exciting or anything like that. Kawhi just gave an alley-oop to LeBron James. Is LeBron James going to go to... Also, is Kawhi going to the Lakers? Jeez, shut up. But... God, my back's so itchy. Bradley Beal for the 3, miss, rebound, Jokic. Jeez, Jokic, the Joker. But as I was talking about again, Trae Young had probably the best performance. 6 3-pointers, had that dirty nutmeg. Played very well. And perhaps maybe could be like a Jamal Murray type player. Where, people were sort of suspect of his rookie season, but he turned out to be fantastic. So, maybe that could be a launching pad for Trae Young to prove the doubters wrong. But it's a glorified exhibition game, so good luck trying to prove anything from that. And I guess that sort of leads to what was the Saturday night All-Star situation, whatever you want to call it. I don't think you really want to call it anything, because it was just garbage, wasn't it? Let's be honest, it was just garbage. They had the skills challenge, which for all intents and purposes was a glorified 3-point shooting contest, because they got rid of all the passes and stuff. Basically, you just chuck the ball 3 times as fast as you can. Once you miss, you run down and shoot a layup. And then basically, whoever can shoot a 3-pointer first, which is, it's not skills, it's a 3-point contest. And, oh wait, I forgot, there is a 3-point contest to prove it's the best 3-point shooter. So, I don't know how they could change it. Maybe it's like a layup. Maybe they have to do a layup with a defender in their face or whatever. Maybe they have to dunk over someone who's gonna block their shot. Maybe I don't know. Maybe something cheeky or fancy. But I think having a 3-point shot at the end is just not. It's not doing it for me. It's just not doing it for me in the skills challenge. And maybe like the shooting stars, that might be on the abyss. That might be on the see you later, how you going type train. But somehow that wasn't the worst thing of the night. We'll get to what was the worst thing of the night, but the best thing of the night is something that was actually really exciting, and especially in the last couple of years has become very, very exciting. Everyone's sort of oohing and ahhing after each shot, is the 3-point contest. And perhaps maybe that's like the the arrival or the sort of uprise of the importance of the 3-point shot and things like that, and how sexy the 3-point shot is. Everyone's seen that NBA ad where it's like threes or dunks and all that stuff. So, maybe threes is where it's heading at the moment. But, congratulations to Joe Harris. Everyone knows who listens to the podcast that I'm a big Joe Harris fan. Should have been signed by a team. So did the Brooklyn Nets. I'm surprised no one really tried to snatch him up. Older than I thought as well. 27. I thought it was like closer to the mid-20s, but maybe he's like on that Kyle Korver route where he's gonna play till he's like 38 or whatever, and you're like, what the hell? You're still playing, son? But yeah, the 3-point contest was really, really good, to the point where Danny Green came third. He got 23, and he still couldn't win. He still couldn't make the top 3, which is insane. What was I gonna say? Steph Curry had the best score in the qualifying with 27, but again was a bridesmaid in the finals. I did really want to note, or really want to say, how much pressure they put on the Currys. It was ridiculous how much pressure they put on the Currys. Not just Steph Curry or Seth Curry, but even Del Curry. They put so much pressure on them. I know it's in Charlotte, their hometown and stuff like that, but Jesus Christ, how much pressure do you want to put on these guys to win? Like, jeez, it's insane. Like, that's all I can keep saying. It's just insane how much pressure they put on these people, on this family to win. But I guess, it's for entertainment value and stuff like that. I think it was a good touch that they added the Legends 3-point shooting. Obviously, it didn't transpire to what they wanted to, which was a competitive score. And I guess talking about Ray Allen, it was like, oh, he needs to be on a 10-day contract. The guy missed every single shot he took in that 3-point Legends shootout. Every shot. Jeff Hornacek got more shots than him. Del Curry got more shots than him. I forgot the other guy who got more shots than him. But Ray Allen, dud. So, yeah, he shouldn't be getting a 10-dayer. But yeah, just the 3-point contest in general was very high level, and the scores were very high. There were some dud plays that didn't really perform as well as people hoped. And that it was more like the isolation plays, like people like Lillard put a decent score, but like Lillard, Kemba, people like that who usually have the ball and have a pull up dribble to their shooting game, or when they're shooting threes and stuff with step backs and things like that. So they weren't that good, but the dead eye shooters, again, your Joe Harris. I guess Steph Curry is just the greatest shooter, so he can do whatever he wants. Who was the other guy? It wasn't Dev. It wasn't Danny Green. God, who was? Oh, Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield, again, a spot-up shooter. And he did really well as well. I thought Buddy Hield was going to win. He was my sort of, I wouldn't even say smoky, because everyone knows how good he is, but I think he was very close to winning. He was very high on my list to win. But yeah, Joe Harris won. Congratulations to Joe Harris. Put that on your mantelpiece. Try and use that as leverage for your next contract. Good on you, Joe Harris. And closing the All-Star Saturday festivities was the dunk contest. And what can we say about the dunk contest? It was shit. I'll get straight to the point. It was shit. It was so shit that the dunks were so memorable. Like I vividly remember each dunk on how bad they were. So obviously the first dunk was John Collins, where he grabbed the edge of the backboard and then he dunked it on the other side of the hoop, which I thought was a really good. I liked the dunk. It was really good. I thought it was under justice that they gave him a flipping 40. Like, Jesus, man, a 40? A 40? Come on, that dunk was good. That dunk was really good. I really, really rated that dunk. And then his other dunk was the one where he jumped over the plane, tried to be Amelia Earhart, which I didn't really understand. And he had all those people there dressed up in those aviator outfits, doing nothing. I thought he was going to jump over them. I'm like, well, that would be pretty cool. But no, he instead opts to jump over a Wright Brothers-esque plane, to which he fails jumping over. It doesn't crash, but he dunks, but he hits there is some debris. He hits one of the wings and goes mayday. And somehow that score gets a 42, which to me is a worse dunk than his original dunk. I think they just gave him the points just for showmanship, which I can respect. But one, the guy could even put a scarf on. Two, he put his goggles on before his helmet, to which he had to take off his goggles and put the helmet on to readjust it. So, John Collins, mediocre dunk contest. Miles Bridges, first dunk, tried to go between the legs off the backboard. He failed, missed all his dunks, got a bad score. Second dunk, he did it off the edge of the backboard, 360, very good dunk. It was a 50, deserving 50, but his first dunk was just so bad that it just ruined it. There was no salvaging it. Dennis Smith Jr., I don't think you could pay him $1,000 and he would get his dunk on the first go. I think he's allergic to getting his dunk on the first go. I don't think he can get his dunk on the first go. Yeah, that's all I remember from him. He can't get his dunk on the first go. Like, to the point where that the best part of his whole dunk performance, like, think about it, the best part of his whole dunk performance was J. Cole nearly dunking. J. Cole nearly dunking was the highlight of Dennis Smith Jr.'s dunk contest reel. And this guy has experience, dude. He was there last year. As if you can't do well, you were there last year. So, I don't know, man. Just trash. And then, obviously, the winner, Hamidou Diallo, 44.5-inch vertical, which I'm pretty sure is the highest recorded in Draft Combine history, or at least close to it. First dunk, pretty good. Second dunk, nasty. I'll give him that. That second dunk was one of the best dunks I've seen. He had the Superman outfit underneath. He jumps over Shaq and he does the Vince Carter honey dip dunk. Ridiculous dunk. And then hangs on the rim, shows off the Superman outfit. Ridiculous. I respect that. One of the best dunks I've actually seen in a while. And then his last two dunks, pretty average. One, he just tried to show off his hops, and the other one, he jumped over Quavo, which you jumped over Shaq, so I don't know how someone would be more impressed because he jumped over Quavo, who's considerably smaller than Shaq. I don't know how you impress anyone on that standpoint, but that's what he did. But yeah, All-Star Saturday, that was pretty sick, wasn't it, guys? And the All-Star game actually looks pretty good. It looks pretty fun. It's really weird watching a game without any sound because I have no idea. It's even weirder watching a music performance with Drake Cole's performing, and I can't hear any of the sound. So, sounds pretty good. I'll leave you to it. You guys listening, probably most of the people listening would have watched the All-Star game, so you know what's probably happening. I'm watching it live, and I'm at the musical intersection of the game where J. Cole's performing, as I mentioned, with no sound, so I'll leave you guys to it. Obviously, if you want to find the podcast or sorry, contact the podcast. You can email me at 23shotsofjd@gmail.com. Any questions, queries, uni coming up. So if you need uni help, you can ask for uni help. I probably won't help because I'm not that good at uni either. If you don't want to email me, you can tweet me at 23shotsofjd. But if you don't use Twitter, don't like Twitter, don't have Twitter, you can follow me on Instagram, 23shotsofjd. DM me and everything there. If you want any questions or things addressed in the podcast. But yeah, besides that, I'll come back sooner rather than later. I try not leave that much of a break. I apologize, guys, but like I said, I am a bit sick, and you probably can still hear me being a bit sick at the moment as well. So I try and come back stronger than ever next time. But yeah, besides that, bye.